Hi Ramya, nice to meet you.
Lovely to meet you. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
You enjoyed Gold Coast so far?
It's been good. It's been busy, but
Okay, you've got that?
yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. It's a minute 20, so and it went up. So I think it can.
That
take
should be fine. Welcome to the Daily Dose. I'm Dr. Tanya, doctor, skincare formulator, founder, and someone who has made enough mistakes in business and real life to actually have something worth saying. We talk about the real stuff, your hormones, your gut health, inflammation, and why ancient medicine understood things that modern science is just only catching up to. Let's get into it. Welcome to Daily Dose. I am with someone who is absolutely amazing, and I'm not going to talk much about her because I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Thank you, Tanya. My name is Dr Ramya Raman. I'm a GP and I'm also a practice owner based in Perth. And it's a really great opportunity to be here today. I'm also a presidential candidate for the 2026 RACGP Presidential Campaign, and the ballots are opening on the 11th of August. So you might be wondering why I'm running for this role, and that's part of the reason why we're here. And it's an amazing opportunity to be able to connect with Tanya and have a chat about this.
Wonderful. I'm really thrilled. When I got a call from you to meet me, I thought I was so interested to know you as a person because I feel there's a huge potential in you, and I thought I want to get to know you, your background, and your whole journey. So tell me about yourself. I'm sure like everyone knows about your practice and what you believe in medicine and everything, but what I'd like to know is the real Ramya. Where were you raised in your childhood?
Sure. And so I grew up in country New South Wales, and I was living in Orange, and that's where I did my schooling and my undergraduate degree. And so I went to a country university, which is Charles Sturt University in Bathurst. And yes, I did spend quite a bit of time looking at the races in Bathurst as well. After that period of time, I moved to the West. So I moved to Western Australia to study medicine. And I've made Western Australia home because I met my husband there. My husband grew up in Port Hedland and later moved to Perth for his university and studies. And I could not look back on any of this journey because Western Australia is a beautiful state, and we've established our practice, our home, and all of our family in WA as well. And it's absolutely fantastic to actually be able to come out and visit different parts of our wonderful nation, including several of the rural and remote areas. And that's an opportunity to be able to engage with GPs, their practices, and really understand what is happening on the ground, because there is no point to any level of leadership if we don't understand what is happening on the ground, and particularly in areas where it's needed the most.
Yeah, that's so true. And your presence here is really much needed because we from Queensland, we feel that everything happens around Sydney, Melbourne and Canberra area, and we are too far away with the main happening, and the connection between us and the Royal College feels a little bit distant because maybe because of the distance that we are, geographically. The opportunity to get to know somebody from that part of the world and understand your challenges and how we understand about our own issues over here and the similarities, the challenges are real and very similar. Anyway, about yourself, why did you choose medicine in the first place?
Medicine is a journey that I have had, and my reasoning for choosing medicine is initially when I finished school, I was a little bit unsure about what I actually wanted to do, and hence I did my undergraduate degree in science and psychology. But during that time, what became clearer to me is I enjoyed really just talking to people, enjoyed the ability to be able to connect with people, but also my interest in science was becoming stronger and stronger. I also just want to share that one of my key turning points has been two things. One is when I used to work as a medical receptionist in a country town called Canowindra, and Dr Kumar had an immense and profound impact on the reasons as to why I chose medicine, because Dr Kumar at the time was a GP in a country town a single GP in that country town. And, working as a receptionist for him at the time, I just thought to myself, I want to be like him. I want to absolutely be like him. And the second point is I read the story of Dr. Ida Scudder from Vellore Medical College as well. And Dr. Scudder's story told me that women can do anything that they want to do. They just need to put their mind to it. If she was able to achieve it and set up an entire hospital and service women in the regions, particularly for obstetric care, then why not I? Why can't I look after patients and be able to do things that I am passionate about? And these were the two driving forces for me to go into medicine, more importantly, to general practice.
Yes, and actually, as you were explaining that, I was getting goosebumps, truly. It's that, the real sense of protecting people and the real sense of you've role modeled someone who has dedicated their life being a single-landed doctor in a rural practice. It's really heartwarming.
And there are many more doctors out there in rural and remote areas of Australia who are in a similar position. And it's actually about listening, understanding, and recognising that role. And coming back to what you had mentioned earlier, Tanya, about the college,
Yep.
the college is there to back every GP. And that's what I stand for. I'm standing for backing and representing every GP, no matter where they are, no matter where they live. And the reality is that we need to be able to do that. And as our college, the college is a national organisation. It doesn't matter where you live or where you practice. The college should become sharper and stronger with its influence, sharper and stronger with its messaging. And I believe that I would be able to be that conduit to enable that into the next journey of our college.
I'm really amazed with the confidence in you as a woman leader and as a person of color, and how you have actually found that belonging and following your calling towards looking not just about your own practice that you have, but looking at what you can do on a broader community at a broader level and help all the doctor community, and which in turn helps the wider population as well. I'm really amazed with that. Where did this leadership quality come from? Is it your upbringing, or have you role modeled anyone, or is it simply because it's you felt the need that you got to change certain things that wasn't right that you have experienced?
I could go on for a long time about it, but
That's
in
okay.
the interest of in the interest
okay.
of time, I would say three things. One is the journey that we all take, and the journey that I've taken into general practice is because general practice is what I chose to do as my first chosen specialty, and no looking back on that. And I have really enjoyed that because engaging and talking to patients, advocating for them, advocating for what they need has been my starting point for my leadership journey.
Yeah.
I've always believed, and I continue to believe, I'm a practicing GP and a practice owner. My patients keep me grounded, and the concerns, things that they bring to me into the consulting room, and when they go, Ramya, this has been really challenging. I've not been able to get anywhere with this. I'm really needing to seek some help, or I'm needing to get into a particular appointment that I'm waiting on on the public system. That is when I pick up the phone and I call my colleagues or follow up on it, and advocating. The first and foremost role as doctors or any health professionals is for us to be able to advocate on behalf of our patients. Yep. So that's where it started. That was my initial touch point on that. The second point I would say to that would be I've had colleagues who have and continue to be excellent mentors. And I think one of the key things that I say to my medical students when I'm teaching, as well as my registrars and GPs in training, is make sure that you talk to people, align with people who have similar values, but also talk to people who don't, because what that ultimately means is that you're getting perspectives. And role modelling and mentoring is an immense it's so good, and I've had such a positive experience with my mentors, and I have mentors for different things. I turn to different things. If it's a college related issue or a practice related issue, or it's a more a clinical sort of issue. I turn to different people, and it's because we value that expertise, but also making us very grounded and going, yes, I actually don't know this, and I need to get some help to engage with that.
Yeah.
And part of my journey in leadership has been because of that.
Yeah.
Because having that support and grounding keeps a reality check on what we can do well and what we don't do well. And it's about recognizing our limitations as well. And I'm taking that next step forward as the third point, because I'm taking the same group of people who have mentored me, my patients and my experience, and keeping my mind open to going, as I step into the campaigning period, and if I were to be successful as the next president for the RACGP, I would have these people to make sure that it keeps me grounded, keeps me aligned, and there is a reality check with ensuring that the concept of listening still exists, because that's the most important thing for a member-based organisation and for a leader to be able to go in for a fight for our profession, for the things that are fragmenting the care in general practice.
You're so right. Like, it's beautifully how you've put everything together, because the grassroots level is us as doctors and our relationship with the patients. And you learn a lot from what patients gives us as feedback, their struggle, their roadblocks in getting into, like, say you gave an example of getting into a hospital for a specialist appointment or waiting surgery, and how this categorization works. And then we, on the other hand, as doctors in the primary care, we are sandwiched between what people really need and what we understand that there are real concerns and that matters to them. It's their real life that's in hold. And at the same time, we understand the pressure of the system at the tertiary care as well. And, quite a lot of time you feel sandwiched unless and until we primary care physicians get that tools to empower us to take decisions on behalf of our clients, of our patients, to get them, to protect them to where they should be in their life and to keep them in a safer place. We need to be empowered. And that empowerment is not limited to GPs in cities, but it's so important that we extend that to rural general practice. And I was really, really touched and moved that when you started, you mentioned about how you role model someone as a young receptionist, and that hero worship of someone, that what they could do as a single-handed practice doctor and owner to change and touch a lot of people's life. So to me, this defines you as a person, the quality. It's the real you. I really admire that. Do you have any stories that comes to your mind that you may have come across either in your career or from your personal experience in rural general practice that stayed with you and you would have gone, oh my God? So have you had such moments?
Yes. There's one particular one. There are several, but there's one particular one that really stays on my mind. And I mentioned earlier that I worked as a medical receptionist, but later I had the opportunity to go and work with Dr. Kumar, which was which I'd never forget. A lot of life learnings, a lot of clinical learnings, but also Canowindra is a small town, and the closest town from Canowindra is actually Orange, where I grew up. And I vividly remember a child who had presented to Canowindra Hospital and being one of the doctors who was looking after the hospital as well as the GP practice. The child was quite unwell with an asthma attack, and no matter what treatment we had offered at that point in time, including using the right puffers and oxygen and monitoring, the child needed to be transferred to a bigger hospital that had the ability to be able to monitor, admit, and also offer some paediatric specialist care. So the memory that I hold was when I was holding my breath in the ambulance with that child as the child was being transferred through from Canowindra through to Orange. And that's a trip that I will never forget. And that's one example of what rural general practice vividly looks like. And I remember how I had broken out into a sweat by the time I travelled the 45-minute journey, although it genuinely felt like a 20-hour journey during that time. And the life experience from that is about how patients are being looked after, the time that we spend with them, but also what it means about accessibility to healthcare, easy transfer access to healthcare, and what it actually means on the ground level for a family or a patient who is living in remote or regional and country New South Wales. Now, that's very much the same across the country. I now live in Western Australia, and hand on heart, I can tell you that distances are vast. And the things that I have seen in WA are vast and varied in relation to the services, the needs, and the unmet needs that are still there, all the way from Esperance to Albany to Denmark to Collie to all the way to the Wheatbelt area in Narrogin and Merredin, and what it means in Kalgoorlie, Kununurra or Port Hedland. And that's just to name a few places across the large state. And there's a lot more that we have to do. And, you know, rural health is and should be a national priority.
Actually, that story that you just shared is really touched me, because the mother in me is really coming out more listening to that, because I had a very similar experience. I was in India on holidays. So both my kids got asthma. So the older one was coughing, but in the morning he wasn't responding much. And that was the most scariest thing as a mother that I had ever faced. So I remember literally scooping him, like carrying him and running to the road, because it was an apartment block where my mom lived at the time, and trying to seek help at the nearest healthcare facility. And I got there, I understood they had barely anything much. So then took him in a auto rickshaw to the nearest. He was diagnosed with status asthmaticus, was admitted in ICU, and then of course later improved. But as a mother, I mean, forget about me being a doctor and all that stuff, because when you're in that situation, none of that works. Mm-hmm. None of that actually helps you, because your mother instinct is to take the child to a safe place, because you know that what this is. And I can only imagine what it would be for people living in those areas when their kids or when their children goes through a health crisis, and when they don't immediately get access, and how that feels. And if the rural GPs are not equipped and empowered with the tools that's accessible for them to help those children, to help those women, to help those families, then what's the point? Mm-hmm. Then what's the point, right? So that is why this conversation really matters. That is really why we should have someone that understands what it means to be a doctor in those circumstances, and not just, it's not a 9-to-5 job. Being a doctor, it's not a 9-to-5 job. You're literally married to your profession, and you're not going to be in that chair if you don't like people. So yeah, it really is very heartwarming, heart-touching experience that you shared. It just took me back in memory. Obviously, I didn't plan to share this, but it taught me a lot as a mother, as a patient, and how important to have right system, ambulance, people to call, and the resources in your fingertips to be able to save your child. These are situations that has refined you as a person, and what you're seeing is it's a collective. You're a person with like so much collective experience. Your background matters. Your journey has influenced the person you've become, and we really look forward to the future leader that we hope that you will become. Coming to your role, what you are contesting for, and I'm just as a doctor and as a member of RACGP,
Yes.
I just want to find out, are there GP shortages now?
So we're talking about workforce, and but before we actually speak about workforce, I think one of the key components that we need to address is access. And there's a lot of discussion about, can we get to see our GP in a timely way? The reality is patients are able to see their GP. The question is whether they're able to see their preferred GP. And I know that in my practice, I've got my patients, and I often tell my patients, you need to make sure that you've got a GP, that your preferred GP, but you also have another GP within the practice who you would be able to trust and be able to see. Why do we say that? We say that because we know time and time again that the work that we do in general practice is invisible. It's not adequately remunerated. And that's what I'm here to defend. I'm here to defend the fact that we can't just be invisible all the time. The work that we do actually matters to patients, and it actually means that we are reducing hospital admissions and we are not allowing patients to get sicker. So the realities of that is felt by our patients, but the realities of that needs to be heard better in Canberra, and the realities of that needs to be heard better in the corridors when we're walking through Parliament, talking to the government and advocating on behalf of general practice. So the truth of this is there is a workforce. The general practice workforce is our future. The future of general practice and our trainees need to be enabled and strengthened. And I want every medical student and GP registrar to go, yes, this is the profession that is going to be sustainable. This is the profession that I love. But for us to do that, we need to make sure that general practice is well respected, it is well remunerated, so that our patients can be cared for appropriately. And we keep patients at the centre of our practice. But to continue keeping that and keeping doors open for practices, we need to make sure that it is sustainable, it is strong, and it is well funded as well.
You touched on very, very important and key areas. All of these things are so important, because if we are not able to take control and sort out a lot of things at primary care, what it results in clogging the tertiary care, which is not what we want. And if patients are not being cared for properly, the preventable diseases are not picked up properly, and our patient visits reduce due to different reasons, whether it's funding or whether it's patient tax or whatever it could be, then it affects the tertiary care as well. So it's not like isolated. It is actually a collective, it's like a snowball effect that just flows from one problem to another problem to another problem. So this is a grassroots level where it can be fixed, right?
And on that note, I might just use an example, because I look after a lot of patients who are pregnant and looking after their postnatal care as well. And I saw one of my patients who had delivered a baby, normal delivery. I'm really excited, but a week after the hospital, delivery process, she came in and she said, "Look, I was discharged 4 hours after my delivery. I am just feeling really lost. I need some help." Now, if I can't unpack the entire consultation here, but as a colleague, you would understand that in that consultation, we went through everything from how are things healing up, like after the delivery? Do you have any bleeding? Are there any concerns with that? How is the baby? How is the feeding? How is your mood? Are you feeling supported at home? What are the things that we can actually help with? And just feeling so helpless and left without that information. Yes, it was a normal delivery and everything went fine, but 4 hours after giving birth, being discharged. And the reason I'm actually highlighting that is because this comes back to the crux of why I stand clear on Medicare rebates improving and increasing for longer consultations. Now, that consultation took me more than 40 minutes to work through with that patient. And you may argue that's because perhaps I'm being too slow, but in fact, it isn't. It's not, because it's because of the reasons that I explained earlier about
And you
the
care.
things
Yeah.
that needs to be addressed for the patient so that the baby and the mum have better outcomes. Now, we're seeing investment into general practice, which is good.
Yes.
But it's not aligned with what the realities of the delivery of care and the quality of care that needs to be achieved within general practice. What we need to see is an increase in the patient Medicare rebate for longer consultations so that GPs and primary care can continue to provide quality care to their patients, which patients value. And it's actually important for them with the cost of living at the moment, and more importantly, being able to access that care in a genuine sense when our hospital systems are, discharging patients 4 hours after a normal delivery. Now, this is not a story that is new by any means. It's happening around the country.
Oh, I've seen it in my clinical life as well. I've seen where we've been brought the same day. And I was like, oh my God. Yeah. So obviously that's a bigger, not burden, that's the wrong word. We have to ensure that we do everything possible for that patient. And rightly, like when it's a 15 minutes consultation, it's impossible. It's impossible. You really need that extra time that we can give, but you've got clinic back to back, patients waiting, and then patients wonder, oh, the doctor is always late, because there are situations like this.
And the reality is so general practice is the most efficient part of our healthcare system. To ensure that we've got adequate and sustainable funding into general practice means that we are saving money at the hospital system. So we're talking about, differences between $100 versus a $600, cost that is going into the hospital system as well.
Yeah, it's a win-win situation.
And we need to do it. It's about time rather than having Band-Aid solutions. And I might also just note that the federal funding into primary care used to be around about 8%, and now we're sitting at 5.5%. My question is why? Why are we taking a step back? It's time to bring this forward into the conversation.
Yeah, and where this conversation really matters, and unless you start the conversation, it will not reach anywhere. That's wonderful. I'm feeling really empowered, and I just feel there's not going to be a better candidate than you. Well, I'm really now biased because after getting to know you so much and your values, what you truly believe in, I'm your fan. I think you can. I believe that you can change a lot for the better, not just for the doctors in the community, not just for the RACGP, but people they are then touching the general public as well, which then helps the entire system to be a better, robust, sustainable one where health for all matters. So coming to a little fun questions that I have. Just want to know some fun facts about you. What's your hidden talent? I'm sure everyone has.
Yes, I would say, well, I'm a trained Bharatanatyam dancer, which is a traditional Indian dancing. So I have to say, in the last few years, that part has probably fallen off my agenda, just purely because of time. But I'll probably say that it's a skill set that I actually value very much, and it has built who I am as a person as well, particularly in relation to enjoyment with things that I see in terms of like dancing and music and art, and these are things that I really enjoy going to in terms of shows and supporting my friends and colleagues in that space as well.
Oh, it's actually, I love that because of course I'm a dancer, and I love people. I love when people really embrace the traditional art form, because it's so important. The discipline, the learning of an Indian classical dance or whatever, whether it's ballet, any classical music or classical ballet dancing, it matters because it takes years to perfect it. It's a discipline, it's a patience, it's a perseverance, it's a constant practice to be able to get you equipped to be on the stage and be a performer. So it's a lot of hard work that goes behind the scene. And I feel it's not just about performing in front of audience. It's the journey of you becoming that person, that kind of molds you. That hard work molds you to who you are. And I can see a lot of that, the hard work, the dedication, the patience, the perseverance. It's not gone wasted, I have to say, Ramya.
Okay,
All
I'm
of
pleased to
these,
hear that.
all these experiences that you've had as a child, and your journey in your becoming an amazing woman leader that all of us are going to be looking forward to have at the top of our RACGP board, but all of us as women are inspired by as well.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for coming. Thanks for having us. And thank you for being here.
Thank you.
When you become the RACGP president, please come and join us once again to share
you.
your experience of what it is like to be the president.
Thank you, Tanya. And can I just also say thank you for all the work that you do and your leadership as a GP, as a colleague, as a community leader as well. It's actually really important to acknowledge that, because if we don't acknowledge our own colleagues and take them along in that journey, it's actually very difficult to make change. And what I'm coming to also say is, as a profession, as GPs, we need to stand united, and we do need to stand united in that journey. It's about bringing people along that journey to make that change. And so on that note, thank you for everything that you do, your leadership, and also looking after your patients within the community of Gold Coast.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm really very happy. Thank you.